Welcome back to Topic 9 for Algebra 2, Parent Functions. In Part 1, we're going to identify the main 6 parent functions as well as practice identifying their domain and range. So the first parent function is something that you must be very familiar with, especially from Algebra 1. It is the linear function, or f of x equals x. Remember, f of x is the same thing as y, so this is really the equation of y equals x. Now, y equals x means that we have a slope of 1 over 1. Remember, 1 is a humble number. It's not always written, but it's always there. And then our y-intercept, we're adding 0. So this is why we're increasing at a rate of 1 over 1, and it is crossing the y-axis at the origin. Now, our domain of this function is all the way to the left. It's going to keep going to negative infinity. And all the way to the right, it's going to go towards positive infinity. If we look up and down our range, our y values, it's going to go closer and closer to negative infinity towards the bottom and positive infinity at the top. So again, domain is left to right, range is bottom to top. Next parent function we're going to move on is to our absolute value function. So let's say f of x is the absolute value of x. Notice here how it's kind of like a V, basically. If we look at our domain, again, our domain is from left to right. We're going all the way on the left towards negative infinity and all the way on the right towards positive infinity. If we look at our range, though, the lowest possible point that we actually go is at 0. And since we actually have a point here, this is called the vertex, as we will see in Topic 10. It is a hard stop at that 0, which is why we have the brackets here. If we keep going up and up and up and keep rising, we're going to get closer towards positive infinity. Our next parent function is the quadratic function. So this is a parabola. F of x equals x squared. If we look at our domain, again, our domain is from left to right. Whoops. We're going from negative infinity to positive infinity. Our range from bottom to top, we stop at 0, and again, we actually have a value here. So that's why we have a bracket, and we're going up towards positive infinity, which is why we have that parentheses. Remember from Topic 6, infinity is not definite, it's indefinite, which is why we have parentheses versus brackets. If we look at our cubic function, so f of x equals x cubed. Again, our domain is from left to right. Now, if we were to zoom out on this graph, it might be a little difficult to see from here, but if we keep zooming out and out and out, we're going to continue going all the way to the left and all the way to the right. In other words, towards negative infinity to positive infinity. Our range is pretty easy to see here, especially because we have those nice arrows literally pointing from negative infinity to positive infinity. Our last two functions, we have the square root function, which if we go back to our quadratic function, where we have this u here, see how in our square root function, it's like that is flipped onto its side, but we're only seeing one side of it. That's because our square root function here is positive, which is why we're only seeing the positive half. If we had a negative part here, like plus or minus, then it would go down here. However, this is actually not a function, because if we think about it, it fails the vertical line test. So we're only going to deal with the top half, or the positive part. if we look at our domain is from left to right. Now, this is the y-axis right here, and this is our x-axis. So we're only dealing with our first quadrant, quadrant 1. Oops. So in terms of our domain, we're stopping at 0. We're not going anywhere in the negative quadrants. And we're going towards positive infinity here, which is why we have our parentheses. For range, again, we're also going from bottom to top. We're still dealing with that first quadrant. So our range is also a hard stop right there at 0 and going up and up towards positive infinity. Last but not least, in our exponential function, here we have f of x equals 2 to the x. For our domain, we're going all the way to the left and all the way to the right if we kept zooming out and out and out. So we go from negative infinity to positive infinity. And our range, now here we do not have a hard stop at the origin. It's getting really, really close to 0, which is why we're going to have a parentheses here. It's not going anywhere below 0, so we do not have any negative numbers, which is why 0 is our smallest value for the range. In terms of the largest value, it's going up and up and up towards positive infinity. And that was part 1 for topic 9 for Algebra 2 on parent functions. Thank you for watching.